Welcome to PENSARE Basketball, a very late live. For those of you who are up at 3 a.m. wondering, did the Raptors just trade for a center and how tall is he? And is he any good? And weren't they supposed to get Davon Sharp and Goga Batadze? Who's this Trayce Jackson-Davis guy? I've never heard of him, and I didn't watch collegiate basketball. I'm here to give you a quick summary of who Trayce Jackson-Davis is. I got a little bit of Davon Sharp on my mind, so I was just about to say I'm about to give you a summary of who Davon Sharp is. I'm gonna give you a summary of who Trayce Jackson-Davis is, and ultimately, it is because I had said that I would see if I had time tomorrow morning to do a film breakdown of everything that I like about him. And ultimately, what's going to come down to is I'm going to be working on pendants until 5 a.m. and then I'm going to get 4 hours of sleep, and I'm not going to have time to do a film breakdown in the morning. So, what is the right thing to do here? Well, for our community, who is presumably going to wake up tomorrow and try to dig through our last live to figure out what I think about Trayce Jackson-Davis, I felt I should do a live right now to give you everything that I know about him condensed in one place so that you have a solid take on who the Raptors just traded that Lakers second round pick for. Okay. And I'm doing this for a reason. I'm doing this so that tomorrow when you go to work and your coworker says, this guy ain't really good because he's 6'9", that you have the better information, because the Toronto Raptors did not just trade for a bum. And I have to give Bobby Webster some salutes here. Trayce Jackson-Davis is actually a pretty good player. So I'm going to take you through a little bit about him. You're going to learn a little bit about who he is as a person. You're going to learn a little bit about who he is as a player. We're going to take a look at his strengths and weaknesses without the film accompaniment. And in a couple of days, when I have some time to properly go through high school, college, all that stuff, film, and actually spend 6-7 hours to do this right, we will do a film breakdown, maybe as a members only, or maybe as a members early exclusive for Trayce Jackson-Davis, because I do believe that it's a player who's going to be in Toronto for at least a couple of years. Okay, so first of all, who is Trayce Jackson-Davis? So that is his father, Dale Davis, NBA legend Dale Davis. And if you grew up in the 90s, you absolutely know who Dale Davis is. Indiana Pacers legend Dale Davis, who eventually ended up playing for one of my favorite teams, the Portland Trail Blazers. So let's just go start there. Trayce Jackson-Davis is the son of former NBA center Dale Davis. The Jackson part comes from his stepfather, Ray Jackson, who raised Trayce. And around when he was in grade 8, his name was still Trayce Davis. And so, out of respect for his stepfather, Ray Jackson, he decided to hyphenate his name of his own volition. Nobody asked him to, just felt that he should pay respect to the man who was actually raising him. So a little bit of a, where does the Jackson and Trayce Jackson-Davis come from? That's where it comes from. Number 2, he was on the B team, and he was a chubby 5'10", 5'11" kid who had a late growth spurt. There's a little bit of, early controversy in his life. He wasn't very highly touted. He kind of had to work for what he became. He was born in Indiana. As mentioned before, his dad was a Pacer after all. Trayce Jackson-Davis, he stayed close to home, kind of like Scotty Barnes, kind of like Colin Murray Boyles, kind of like DeMar DeRozan. Kind of interesting that this trend line keeps coming up with the Raptors of guys who just stayed close to home. Because RJ didn't stay close to home. Cade didn't stay close to home. It's not that common that guys just kind of stay in their state college, but these guys all did. And he ended up becoming a pretty great player at Indiana for the Indiana Hoosiers, same program that produced OG Anunoby, the iconic Hoosiers program. He averaged 17.9 points per game, 9.1 rebounds across 4 years, and upped his scoring and assists every single year, a true testament to his hard work. Okay. He was a consensus All-American, 4-time All Big Ten, 2-time All Big Ten tournament, two-time Big Ten All Defense, one of the best defensive bigs, averaged 2.9 blocks, just crazy. So here's a really fun fact. He went 57th to the Warriors in the 2023 draft, same draft, by the way, that produced Grady Dick. He fell by choice, not by necessity. There were a lot of teams, including the Raptors, that looked at him and were interested in him. Unfortunately, he wanted that 4-year deal that he ended up getting with the Warriors. This is a big kerfuffle at the time of how did the Warriors get this guy at 57. A lot of teams were interested in him, but his agency pushed him towards the team that he wanted to go to, where he fit. I'm assuming this is based on purely just me reading the tea leaves, that he wanted to play next to a player that he had often been compared to in Draymond Green and learn under the tutelage of a championship organization, obviously cares about winning. He has the fifth highest value over replacement among his draft class. So, just for some context, here is that graphic right here. Victor Wembanyama is number one. Amen Thompson's number two. Casey Wallace, number three. Brandon Pajemski, number four. Trayce Jackson-Davis, number five. Shout outs to TJD. Asar, Derek Lively, Jaime Jaquez, Brandon Miller. Kind of interesting when you think about it. You've heard of all those other names as prominent pieces that are not going anywhere. All those players are still on their current teams. Brandon Miller is still on his current team. Cam Whitmore is the only guy here who's been traded. Tamani's still on his team. So, how is Trayce Jackson-Davis so good according to value of replacement? Well, he just does a lot of things that the analytics really value. I'm going to take a look at some of those things. And just for context here, TJD is number five. Victor Wembanyama naturally number one. Guess where Grady Dick is? Anyone want to guess? If you guessed 50, you guessed wrong. Grady Dick is 52nd in value of replacement in his own draft class. So there have been some conflicting measurements. A lot of my Raptors Twitter feed is just full of, oh my God, we got another 6'9" guy or 6'8" guy. So just for some context here, at the draft, barefoot, he measured 6'8.25 barefoot. So that is officially 6'9 and a quarter in shoes. However, his GM, Mike Dunleavy, said that he grew an inch after his rookie season, which would put him at around 6'9 and a quarter barefoot, 6'10. So he's about 6'10. Now, it's a bit of a deceptive 6'10 because he has a bit of a big head, as you see in the picture, and a little low shoulders. It's kind of like a weird build for a big, kind of like the opposite of Scotty Barnes. So his shoulders are probably going to be exactly where Scotty's shoulders are. But nevertheless, if you're one of those people who are really, really crazy about your bigs being taller than 6'9", congratulations. Trayce Jackson-Davis is technically taller than 6'9" because basketball is not played fucking barefoot. Okay? As a player, here are some pros for Trayce Jackson-Davis that I have believed through, years of watching him sporadically and watching him in collegiate basketball. These are things that have always popped out with me about him. There are some more. Number one is shot blocking. Immediately, just the best rim protector on this team, period. Immediately, you have gotten the best rim protector on this team. He is very good at it. He is very elite. His timing is great. His jump is great. Obviously, has a 7'1" wingspan, so shot blocking is definitely there. Athleticism. For a big, he is very nimble. He is very balanced, and he is very quick. For a 6'9" player, he moves very well, and he has a bit of vertical pop at the rim, as evidenced by the fact that he dunked on Victor Wembanyama and blocked Giannis Antetokounmpo not once but twice on the same play. He has a lot of athleticism there. So as I said, speed for his size, his second jump, which makes him an elite offensive rebounder, his post playmaking, pinch post playmaking, transition playmaking, he's just a really good passer. I don't know how many different ways I can say this to you. He's a very good passer. He's great in the short roll. And if you're the Toronto Raptors, you're counting your blessings here because he's learned from a very good coach for the last 3 years in Steve Kerr. And he's also learned from the one player in the NBA that I would most compare him to, which is ironically Draymond Green. Now, if you're a Toronto Raptors fans right now, you're thinking, wait a second, wasn't Scotty Barnes also compared to Draymond Green? And wasn't Jonathan Mobo also compared to Draymond Green? And isn't CMB kind of like Draymond Green? Yeah, apparently the Raptors are building the all Draymond, Green team. But Draymond is not a bad player. And while Trayce Jackson-Davis has drawn a lot of comparisons in collegiate basketball to Draymond Green, I don't think he's quite the switch defender that Draymond is, but he is a better shot blocker than Draymond is, and Scotty, and Mobo, and CMB. He's the best shot blocker of the bunch, and he's the biggest of the bunch. So, yes, as a screen setter, he was 25th in the NBA in screen assists as a rookie. He's very good as a screen setter. He's an elite. And screen setting is an art form. He will only get better at it. Obviously, he's gotten a lot better at it as he's gotten forward in his NBA career. He's learned from a great screen setter in Draymond Green. He's had elite coaching there. Jama Malalela actually coached this guy as a rookie. So this is going to be something that is at least familiar to him. This is something that, Jama would have voted for him for sure, 100%. And I actually spent about 10 minutes right now having a little powwow with a friend on the West Coast who covered him pretty closely 2 years ago, and he just can't stop saying nice things about him. Said he's the nicest guy ever, never had a frown, always super chill to be around, always accessible, always with his teammates, always just to himself, never had any off court issues, no suspension issues, just a really high character dude. So, really glowing reviews from that dude, and they're sad to see him go. Um, Offensive rebounding, as I mentioned, the second pop, his timing and just pursuit, motor. There's a lot of things that go into offensive rebounding, hand-eye coordination, second jump. The Raptors already have a couple of really good offensive rebounders. This is probably I could make an argument he's your second best offensive rebounder after Jakob Poeltl and maybe a hair touch better than Scotty and CMB. He's very good at it. Defensive rebounding, his great positioning. It is not easy to combine these three traits in one. Number one, shot blocking. Number two, low foul rate. Number three, good defensive rebounder. When you combine these three things, you get what I call an anchor. He has anchor potential, which is very good. His shot selection is incredible. Now, it's not dynamic. It's not diverse. He's not going to be, turning around over his left shoulder, and he doesn't have anywhere near the offensive potential, growth potential as a scorer that CMB does. The dribble drive game, it's not nearly as dynamic. There's a reason why CMB was a lottery pick and Trayce Jackson-Davis was a 4-year collegiate player. That being said, he doesn't play outside of himself. He doesn't try to be something that he's not. And I think that that makes him well beyond his years in terms of coaching. Cutting and rolling. Something that is very big in the Raptors offense is players who instinctively know how to fill space, know how to create space. He creates a ton of space through his cuts and through his rolls. So, paired with players like Grady Dick, paired with players like Jacoby Walter, paired with players like Emmanuel Quigley, he is going to make life very easy. He also potentially could make life very easy for Scotty Barnes as a screener. Again, this is something that cannot really be taught very easily at the NBA level, and this is something he instinctively has been doing really well since high school. His basketball IQ is off the charts. He is an insanely smart player. Again, the low foul rate is evidence of this. The high pass rate is evidence of this. He's not very turnover prone. He's just an insanely smart player. This is something that has been true about him since collegiate basketball. Every scouting report that I've read on this guy for the last 4 years has always been really low error player, very high IQ, very high feel, very good instinctive understanding of where to be, how to read situations, that proprioceptive remapping of the floor stuff. He's got it. He's got great understanding. And then the defensive IQ, understanding just how to play angles, how to cut off angles, how to use his hands, how to get his hands in passing lanes. Everything that he does, he's a student of the game. He's extremely hardworking and just a player who takes his craft very seriously. Here are some cons. Now, again, I struggle to find cons with Trayce Jackson-Davis, but obviously the free throw shooting and shooting in general is just the biggest con, period. He doesn't have a great spacing or pop potential at all. He's a lefty. There were some talk, early in his high school and collegiate career that maybe he could develop a pick and pop game. There was some soft touch issues. There was some progression with his free throw shooting, but it hasn't really turned out in the NBA. His touch around outside of 3 to 4 feet, if he's not dunking it, he doesn't have the greatest touch. This is not Jakob Poeltl or anything like that. So yeah, the low shoulders. I mean, this is definitely to each their own. Chris Bosh. Some people have an issue with rounded shoulders and low shoulders with bigs. People prefer like higher shoulder bigs. I don't know. This is a very subjective thing. Chris Bosh had rounded shoulders. He carved out a Hall of Fame career. So whatever, you call it what you want. More pros, man. Transition feel. Again, with the number of 4-on-1, 3-on-1 fast breaks that the Raptors screw up, having a guy that you can just throw it to who's not going to pick up a charge, not going to get in a guy's way, knows how to fill lanes correctly, can have good hands catching the basketball is just very important to me. The Raptors are number one transition team in the league, and having a player who fits in there, and especially as a big, is very important. This is something that the Raptors really tried to achieve with Ulrich Chomsky as well. This is a guy who achieves a lot of the same stuff that Ulrich does. I don't think I've really seen this is like actualized Ulrich, like minus the shooting potential, because if you notice with Ulrich, again, Ulrich, different level of athlete, different wingspan, different height, different shooting upside. Okay. But Ulrich in and of itself The reason that Ulrich was so high fit with the Raptors was because he had some touch, feel potential as a mid post passer. He was a good screener. He was a high motor guy. And the mega thing about Ulrich that always appealed to me was his ability to beat his matchup down the court. Again, when you are often the lowest player on the court, your ability to sprint past your man can create tons of problems for the other team. So his ability to run the floor, run quickly, and run persistently is very important, especially because he's probably going to play 12 to 15 minutes a night off the bench for you. And of course, this is something that we've heard a lot, which is work ethic. Huge. Off the court, he loves films. This is music to my ears. High character guy. He passes a lot of green flags. Apparently, the Raptors really liked him at the draft, but he decided to go somewhere else. Described as very chill, low maintenance personality, good for chemistry, great practice player. Okay, I think Scotty's going to love this guy. Overcame a very serious early trauma at age 4. He fractured his skull in a home accident involving a resistance band, which left him with scars above both ears. At age 6, he had a golf club accident, fractured his cheekbone and eye socket, requiring a titanium screw in his face. Um, Overall, listen, solid value, not as good as Day'Ron Sharp, but not as young as Day'Ron Sharp, not as high potential as Day'Ron Sharp. He's about to be 26 years old. Day'Ron, as I mentioned before, is 24 years old, but easily better than anything the Raptors have on their roster behind Jakob Poeltl. Perfect fit for the Raptors system. Another huge pro, right, is you're about to get banned, dude. Like you're so clearly trolling. Like, I don't know what's wrong with you. There's not a chance in hell that this is true. No way. Why would you do this? Is your life so sad? I will apologize to you profusely if I'm wrong, but there's no chance. Man, okay. Peace out. Banned. Okay. So, anyways, that's what I wanted to say about Trayce Jackson-Davis. I think he is a very good system fit for the Toronto Raptors. I've mentioned this before that it's not very easy to play basketball as a big for the Toronto Raptors. There's a lot of things you have to do. Number one, you have to be a .5 basketball player. Number two, you have to be a high character guy. Number three, you have to be a neutral to positive defender. If you are also a big, it helps that you're a good rebounder, offensive rebounder. The Raptors look for these traits. Number four, it helps that you're a little bit switchable. I'm not saying he can switch 1 to 5 or anything like that, but he can definitely tag a 2 or a slow-footed 2 or a 3 and give you a little bit of an angle there. He's not the most fleet of foot. He's a little bit more ground bound laterally in that sense, but he's smart. He plays angles really well. And from what I understand, he has very high ambitions for his career. He is in a contract year next year. So the Raptors will try him out this year, weigh it out. Worst case scenario, I will tell you right now, you'll be able to get a second round pick for him next year. He has to have some buyers. And again, it's not normal for rookies to contribute positively to winning. He has not had negative analytics anywhere at all. What does it say about him that the analytics love him so much? Well, namely, there are things that analytics like, and there are things that analytics don't like. Analytics like guys who rebound. Analytics guys like guys who make defensive plays. Analytics don't like guys who give up a lot of plays. They don't like guys who don't value possessions. They don't like guys who miss shots. So in and of itself, he's a very condensed, very limited, but ultimately very perfect version of what he is. And what he is a perfect third center on a really good team. He is a perfect crack in case. Now, you may be thinking, I can't believe we gave up a second round pick for a third string center. Look, a third string center on a championship team is better than any center you have on this team not named Jakob Poeltl. So maybe at 24, 25 years old, maybe there's still something that you can get out of him. I believe that Darko is a really good development coach. I believe that maybe when he was in his final year at Indiana, that people had some ideas that he could become better than this. I have seen Darko turn most of the players that we've gotten into good players. Now, we've often taken on players who weren't very good at their last stop. RJ Barrett wasn't very good for the Knicks. he got a lot better with the Raptors, right? Um, Ochai Agbaji was not good with the Utah Jazz. He had a career year last year with the Raptors. If Trayce Jackson-Davis can develop anything close to a mid-range jump shot, that changes everything with him. He has Al Horfordisms minus the shooting. There's a lot of Al Horford in his game. I know the frequent comparison is Draymond Green, but honestly, he's always reminded me a little bit of Al Horford. And Al Horford is a very, very, very good big. Now, what does this mean for CMB? Does this mean CMB is going to play less? I think this is hopefully a good thing for CMB. I don't necessarily think that playing center is great for Colin Murray Boyles. His future is not at center. So, to the people who are saying, like, we need to develop CMB, what are we doing? You're crazy. CMB's future is not as a 5, it is as a 3-4. Okay. It is like the Tomani Kamara, OG Anunoby archetype. Hopefully, you can figure out a jump shot with CMB. The future for CMB is probably to occupy the role currently held by RJ Barrett. And I know that that sounds crazy for a lot of people, but honestly, like, you don't want your 6'6" player being a center. You ideally want that 6'6" player to transition to the wing. Now, the Raptors may have wanted to transition Jonathan Mobo to the wing, and maybe that's just not going to happen because his skills are too big adjacent. But with CMB, you have to at least try. You have to at least try to morph him into a 3-4. Okay. And at that point, you will actually massively expand his trade value. You will expand his game and probably expand his future, frankly, in the NBA. Because of the 6'6" big, the Chuck Hayes model, the career arc is not long. And definitely teams do not typically invest a top 10 pick in a 6'6" center. So again, he didn't play center for South Carolina. There's no reason for him to be playing center for the Raptors. The only reason he's playing center for the Raptors is because Scotty doesn't want to play center. And the only reason Scotty doesn't want to play center is because neither of these guys are centers. Congratulations. You finally have a center. Bobby Webster did a good job. Why him over Nick Richards or anything of that sort? I understand that there's a lot of people who are perturbed that we didn't get Jock Londale and Jock Londale went for less or whatever. Listen, Jock is older. I don't think Jock is as good. I can make an argument that Jock is good, but I don't think Jock is as good. And there was a tweet from Josh Lewenberg early on today, which said that the Raptors had targeted Goga Batadze, Day'Ron Sharpe, and Yves Missi. Now, where have you heard those three names before? Was it me screaming Yves Missi, the Raptors guy, 2 years ago at the draft? Yeah, that was me. Was it me the last 2 days, 3 days, 5 days, 10 days, 15 days saying Goga Batadze and Day'Ron Sharpe will be the targets? Yes. But unfortunately, the asking price on all three of those players was a future protected first. The Raptors, not wanting to trade a future protected first, rather decided to dump what will effectively be probably the 49th to 52nd pick in this year's draft. So, is that good? Well, it depends on how you look at it. It's very unlikely, extremely unlikely, that the player picked between 49 and 52 in this year's draft is going to be significantly, or if at all, ever better than the player that Trayce Jackson-Davis will be for the next year and a half. If you're thinking about extracting value, this in and of itself is a better deadline move than the Raptors have made in a very long time. I'm not mad at it. The pick that you eventually traded for Trayce Jackson-Davis is not your own second round pick. So you retain your own second round pick. The pick that you got for Trayce Jackson-Davis is actually the pick that you got from the Miami Heat for Davion Mitchell. And that Davion Mitchell, by the way, was a rental that you got from the Sacramento Kings for eating their contract. So basically, you ended up with Jamal Shed, Trayce Jackson-Davis, and I think that's a pretty good haul for Jaden McDaniels, wouldn't you say? So that's not that bad. Barnes and Scotty said, did you watch tape on him? Yes, I have watched plenty of tape on him. I just wanted to condense my thoughts here. I will obviously at some point have to do a full, 20-minute video session breakdown, either for members or for the entire community, and really get into the nitty-gritty of what I like about him. A lot of people, I believe, are just spewing misinformation at this point. They're saying like, oh, the Raptors finally got a center, but he's 6'8", 6'9", whatever. Look, man, he plays a lot bigger than 6'9". He's very physical. He's very strong. He's about 6'9", 245, 250. He throws his weight around a lot. He's extremely physical. Um, See this right here, and I mean no offense to you at all. No, I am not. No, I'm not. Okay, so I mean we have been starting. Yeah, Scotty Barnes measured 6'7" barefoot at the draft. Okay, so we say Scotty's 6'9", and he may very well be 6'9" in shoes, but this guy is bigger than Scotty. Uh, you know, and he's bigger than CMB, and he just has a high motor. Look, you want your young players to be he's better than Orlando Robinson. If you want a grade scale, he's better than Orlando Robinson, he's better than Colin Castleton, he's worse than Goga Batase, and he's worse than Day'Ron Sharp. So he's somewhere between those two players. But you know what? Unlike Day'Ron Sharp, who makes 6.2 million, and please understand that if tomorrow we trade for Day'Ron Sharp, I'm gonna be the happiest person in the world, but I don't care. I'm gonna say this. This dude makes a minimum contract. The extra value here is that you have another minimum contract on your books next year who can actually play minutes for you. Now, if you want to look at salaries as independent assets, you can do that. But I guarantee you that the people who build basketball teams like Kevin Pritchard and not Joe Lacob, Masai Ujiri, Bobby Webster, Sam Presti, they don't think about assets this way. And you shouldn't either. What you should think about is that the average team devotes X amount of money to their center rotation each year and gets Y level of production or value from that center rotation. Okay. So if you look at CMB on a rookie contract, Trayce Jackson-Davis for the next year and a half or a year and a third on a minimum contract with possibly, if he pops for you, a team-friendly extension at about $3 million to $4 million a year, and Jakob Poeltl together, if you are able to sum total your center rotation between those three players, then I think you're sitting pretty okay because those three players next year will not make as much combined as Kristaps Porzingis makes by himself. They will make half as much as maybe Anthony Davis will make by himself. And Anthony Davis will require a backup because he will miss half the season. So you have to look at it that way. Of course, the upside is not as high, but having three bigs who can do all of this stuff for you is very important. The Ochai Abaji part of it, I mean, honestly, it's a big nothing burger. I'm not a big Ochai Abaji fan. I was kind of off of him last year. I didn't want to extend him to big money this summer, but you know what? Coming off the season that he had, I would have understood if the Raptors had extended him to 2 years, 14 million, 2 years, 15 million. I, for one, am extremely thankful they did not do that. So kudos to Bobby Webster. I've spent a lot of time talking shit about Bobby Webster, but between Sandro Mamukelashvili and Trayce Jackson-Davis, to be able to get two role player, solid analytics, low error, high floor offense defense combination bigs for $4.5 million, $5 million between them, insane value. Great value for the Raptors. Good get for the Raptors. Can't wait to see him suit up for the Raptors. And I think Raptor fans are really, really going to like this guy. He's soft spoken. He is kind. He's a good teammate. He works hard. There's absolutely nothing here that makes me think that Raptor fans are ever going to turn on TJD. Became a huge fan favorite in the Bay. Hopefully, he'll be a huge fan favorite for the Toronto Raptors going forward. If you are somebody who's catching this video late or catching this video early tomorrow, please give this video a like. There's about 154 people in here at 3:22 a.m., kind of giving you a feeling into like how panicked or how frantic Raptor fans are, because we've done post games this year with like 300 people. So we got half that volume in here at 3:22 a.m. talking about Trayce Jackson-Davis, because quite frankly, this is the only show on right now. Okay, this is like the infomercials at 3 a.m. trying to sell you a knife. I'm not trying to sell you a knife that can cut through your shoe. I'm trying to sell you a channel that can give you a deeper appreciation for your Toronto Raptors. So definitely give this video a like, subscribe if you aren't already, and welcome to Toronto, Trayce Jackson-Davis. I got to go back to Pendance prep. Pendance passes are on sale now. And get to it. Peace, guys. Nice one saying, I'm wondering why Golden State Warriors gave up on him, though. Well, it could be a lot of things, man. He could want a bigger role. They just traded for, they have Quentin Post. They could be going in a different direction. He's not a shooter. Maybe they want a guy who can shoot. They do have Quentin Post now. They do have Al Horford now. They do have Kristaps Porzingis coming in. You know, maybe this was just, out of kindness to him to give him an opportunity, right? Live tomorrow before 3 p.m. Yes. So I will be jumping off of Player's Choice around 1:50. I have already told Player's Choice that, I won't be staying to my typical 2:15. And if there are any other trades, we will have a trade show from let's say 1:55 till about 4 o'clock. We'll break down all the trades that have happened from start to finish, give you my take on it. We'll take some call-ins. All right. I'll talk to y'all later. Have a beautiful night. Peace, man. Oh, and say a prayer for me. I'm gonna be doing the panel on like 4 hours of sleep tomorrow, bro. Shit.